Stretch across Victoria Harbour and surround the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Centre. It's the Hong Kong New Year Countdown celebrations. Please use public transport and follow police instructions.
Discover everything from the real contents of fruit juice, the addictiveness of chocolate, to the health benefits of curry and spices. Foodie and health guru Nikki Muller will take you on an exploration of food origins to dispel the many myths of nutrition. Thursday, The Food Detectives at 9:30 on Pearl. Hong Kong's fashion event of the year. Tips on pre-wedding pampering. Archery for fun seekers. Also, handcrafted leather goods. And a helicopter ride to kickstart the new year. Thursday night, Dolce Vita at 10 on Pearl.
Search called off again, but potential wreckage spotted in AirAsia crash. Evacuation of burning Greek ferry complete. And the scramble to pay ATV staff their unpaid wages. Good evening. Rescuers have called off their search for a second day to find the missing AirAsia plane, which is believed to have crashed while flying from Indonesia to Singapore yesterday. There are reports that rescuers spotted oil slicks and a possible wreckage in the Java Sea, but authorities did not confirm this. Tony Saban reports.
What began as a search and rescue operation for Indonesia AirAsia Flight 8501 has quickly morphed into a grim task to salvage the wreckage and recover the bodies. The Airbus A320 jet with 162 passengers and crew on board was on a routine flight from the Indonesian city of Surabaya to Singapore when it vanished midway through its flight path over the Java Sea. Based on the coordinates of the plane's last known location, Indonesian authorities have focused their search around the islands of Bangka and West Kalimantan province on Borneo Island. They believe most of the plane is now at the bottom of the sea. Finding the jet's flight data recorders will be crucial to work out the cause of the crash. Bad weather is believed to have played a part, although exactly what part is not clear right now. Some experts have drawn loose parallels between this accident and Air France Flight 447 in 2009, which crashed en route from Brazil to France, killing all 228 on board. That was blamed on a combination of bad weather and malfunctioning speed sensors, among the main factors which confused the crew and allowed the plane to stall, causing the crash. There are concerns the crew of the doomed AirAsia flight encountered something similar. The boss of the AirAsia group, which includes the franchise in Indonesia that operated the doomed flight, has been in Surabaya helping coordinate the airline's response to the crisis.
Until today, we have never lost a life. But I think any airline CEO who says that he can guarantee that his airline is 100% safe is not accurate. There's so many factors, and right now we cannot speculate as to what was the cause of the accident. But for the last 13 years we have run a very thorough operation, and we will continue to do that.
In Singapore, where QZ8501 should have landed yesterday morning, stories have emerged of people who could have been on the flight, but escaped because of a fortunate change in plans.
There was a relative having a wedding, and the wedding ended quite late. So we were thinking like, no, just postpone one day. So thanks God, we were supposed to be on that flight on the 28th. And it's eerie.
But others weren't so lucky, including Choi Chi-wai, a UK citizen who is also a Hong Kong resident. He was travelling with his daughter back to Singapore, where he lives and works, and was on the flight. Tony Sabine, TVB News.
Authorities say that the evacuation of the Greek ferry, which caught fire off Albania, has been completed. The latest numbers indicate 414 people have been rescued and 5 bodies removed. James Aiken reports.
high seas drama in a high-stakes rescue. Navy teams painstakingly airlift 49 passengers from the burning deck of a stricken Greek ferry. At least one person died earlier in a rescue shoot. 2 others have been injured. Soon after, a cargo ship that had been nearby the ferry arrives in the southern Italian port city of Bari, with the first big group of rescued passengers to reach land. An Italian official says the passengers, many of them children, are being assessed by doctors at the scene, but they appear to be in good condition. Mobile phone footage shot by one of the survivors reveals the extent of the floating inferno. Other passengers still on board the ferry called a Greek TV station, saying they were huddled on the upper decks and struggling to breathe amid the thick smoke. We are outside, we are very cold, the ship is full of smoke and the floors are boiling, says this passenger. Among the rescued passengers is 37-year-old Nick Channing Williams. He had called his mother in England to describe his situation while he was still on the boat.
He said, well, it's an awful lot worse for us because we're actually standing out here in the pouring rain and thunder and lightning, and we really don't just know exactly what's going to happen.
The Italian-flagged Norman Atlantic was packed with 478 people, many of them vacationers and truck drivers traveling from Greece to Italy when the fire broke out before dawn Sunday on the boat's vehicle deck. Maritime officials say the fire is now partially under control and the ship is being towed. The Norman Atlantic was built in 2009 and was last inspected earlier this month. Officials say minor deficiencies were found, including a malfunctioning fire door. But the ship's manufacturer says all problems were fixed immediately to the satisfaction of inspectors. James Aiken, TVB News.
The US-led coalition in Afghanistan has formally ended its combat mission in the country more than 13 years after the alliance ousted the Taliban following the September 11th terror attacks. The moment was marked with a quiet flag-lowering ceremony in Kabul that signaled the transition of the fighting from US-led combat troops to the country's own security forces. About 13,000 foreign troops, mostly American, will remain in the country under a 2-year mission to help continue training Afghan forces, but they will play no more role in fighting the Taliban. Locally now, troubled broadcaster Asia Television says staff will get half of their unpaid November salaries within 2 days, with the remainder to be paid next month. No word yet on when they will get paid for December, though. As Showa Silva reports, the government is looking to see whether ATV should be prosecuted for not paying staff on time.
The measure undertaken by ATV's management comes after more than 700 employees went through Christmas without pay. ATV will pay staff half of their overdue November salaries within 2 days. As he made the announcement, the station's executive director, Ip Kapo, admitted that for now the company could only pay $7 million of the $15 million owed to employees. That's after new staff issued an open letter last week threatening to walk out on January 1st. Still, Ip expressed hope that the troubled station would soon be in a position to pay both November and December salaries in full. He added that ATV employees still love the company. He said the station must have a future and explained that the quickest way to save it would be for a white knight investor to come to its rescue and for shareholders to inject funds into its accounts. The comments came ahead of a meeting this afternoon between 2 senior Deloitte accountants who have been appointed as managers at the station and ATV employees. After the meeting, the Labour Department said it would consider its next step.
If the wages still remain unpaid, it's still breaking the law, and so we take a serious attitude towards this case, and we will, if there's sufficient evidence, we will take a prosecution.
In a statement, the Labour Department added it is consulting with the Department of Justice about whether there is sufficient evidence to prove the broadcaster failed to pay the salaries deliberately and without reasonable excuse. It is also trying to work out whether the delay was agreed to or tolerated by ATV's management or board. This could determine whether to undertake prosecution.
停工嘅話咧，就會影響到廣播。
In the meantime, an editor with ATV's Chinese news section, Law Pui King, criticized the accountant sent to manage the station. She said that instead of coming up with solutions, they simply warned workers that if they decide not to show up on January 1st, this could affect the operation of ATV's news department, resulting in the station violating the terms of its free-to-air license, a step that would ultimately limit its chances of finding a new investor. João da Silva, TVB News.
Services were generally smooth as the MTR West Island Line handled passengers on its first day of weekday operations. Owen Feng reports.
This morning, some residents of Kennedy Town, one of the districts served by the extended Island Line, chose to take the MTR to work for the first time. This man says he prefers the railway to other forms of public transportation because it's not affected by traffic conditions on the roads. Some passengers, however, are not sure whether they'll switch to the MTR permanently. This man says he'll try out the West Island Line for a few weeks before deciding which mode of transportation is more convenient for him.
Up to 5 o'clock today, we have actually served over 60,000 passengers in the two new stations, and passenger flow has been very smooth.
At the HKU station, passengers have to walk for around 6 minutes before getting to the exit for the Westwood shopping mall. My legs are getting tired, this woman says. The moving walkways only go in one direction. It would be better if they go both ways. Passengers heading to Kowloon can interchange for the Chunwan line at Central or Admiralty Station. The two stations, however, were no more crowded than usual this morning. But at 7 a.m, there was a slight delay of trains on the Island Line. The MTR Corporation explained that it was caused by a glitch in the computer system of a train at Kennedy Town Station, but the problem was promptly resolved. With the availability of the West Island Line, queues for buses in Kennedy Town were shorter than usual. A bus route from Wafu Estate to Central was cancelled earlier, but the bus company launched a circular route between Tin Wan and Shek Tong Choi to take passengers to MTR stations. Owen Fung, TVB News.
Former Sun Hung Kai Properties Joint Chairman Thomas Kwok has filed an appeal against his conviction in the corruption case involving former Chief Secretary for Administration Raphael Hui. Kwok's lawyer visited him in Stanley Prison today. The former joint chairman was earlier found guilty of conspiracy to commit misconduct in public office, along with 3 other defendants involved. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison and was also slapped with a $500,000 fine. There are just 2 days to go before New Year's, and police expect a turnout similar to last year, about 370,000 people on both sides of the harbor. Police also stress that they will watch out for people who attempt to break the law. Liz Yun reports.
Last week, crowds gathered on the streets of Mongkok and Causeway Bay on Christmas Eve. Calling what they did caroling, some groups sang popular songs in support of the pro-democracy movement. Police held up a warning banner demanding people to disperse. The police also expect large crowds for the New Year's Eve countdown. They said today that sufficient manpower will be deployed for crowd management duty.
We will be also able to handle all the contingency incidents effectively and efficiently. Taking this opportunity, I would like also to appeal for public support that please obey the police direction on the spot and don't do any act breaking the law, or otherwise police will take necessary action and resolute actions if necessary.
Hong added that officers will watch out for individuals who threaten road safety or those who pose a potential danger to other members of the public.
Actually, we will have the observation on the act and the behavior of those people attending the vantage point to watch the fireworks.